I audible?
Yes,
Yeah.
we can hear you. How are you, Sidharth?
I'm doing great. How are you?
We are good, thank you. You can start your presentation right away.
Sure. Thank you.
After you share your screen, we can get started.
Oh, okay. Is it visible?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. So let me introduce myself. My name is Sidharth, and I'm a student in VIT Chennai, Vellore Institute of Chennai. It's in India, and I'm doing my undergraduation second year in computer science. So a bit about this topic before I start. Let me give you a heads up right away, which is there won't be coding involved as much as the others. This is more like an algorithm analysis, so keep that in mind. So let's start off. So uh, so the fundamental question which is raised is what is biometrics? So biometrics is that form of technology that incorporates the biological uniqueness of an individual into a technical aspect for the purpose of security and data. And these may include face recognition, fingerprint scanning, iris scanning, DNA, all in many levels. And today we'll talk about biometrics in some simple level, if you don't mind. Uh, so the question is, since this is a global AI conference, so the question is how AI biometric technologies work. And in order to perceive that, you have to divide biometric identification into two, broadly physical and behavioral. Let's get it physical first. So physical biometric solutions use measurable characteristics. Please know that word of particular parts of the body, as said earlier, like a person's face, iris, DNA, fingerprints, and and what technically does is that it transforms this particular information into a code readable by the AI system with which you have built this algorithm. And just a fun fact: the oldest known biometric technology is a DNA test done for discovering lineage, biological parents, and moving on. You often you realize what is the essence of biometrics. So if you see this picture right here, this is a facial recognition system in Osaka metro station. And as it sounds, this was implemented as a CCTV setup, so for to capture information of anyone and everyone who is captured on the screen. And so, in layman terms, this was actually built to monitor the passengers at the station and capture the identity for any future investigation, survey, etc., done by the government whatsoever. So now let's just wonder, which is uh, this huge setup that you saw for face recognition is being compressed to a size that fits on our phones and other electronic devices. So it's a mind-blowing fact if you think about it, how that huge thing has come down to being so handy, so that's our phones. So as I said earlier, this is a global AI conference. So where does AI come in? To answer that, let me give two scenarios, which is why can't a well-developed facial recognition system be fooled by the photo of the authenticator? Second question would be, why can't a fingerprint smudge validate a fingerprint scanner? A fingerprint smudge of the laptop, a glass, whatsoever. Yeah. The answer in brief would be the art of depth sensing, pressure sensing, etc. So to detail this more, let's talk about the face recognition first. So each person's face is broken up into numerous data points, and these can be the distance between the eyes, the height of cheekbones, and other distinctive features. And this facial recognition algorithm with which you have built the system searches on those data points and tries to account for the variation. So in simple terms, the face is broken down to millions of Cartesian coordinates xyz, and the distance between each coordinate is measured to extreme precision. This is an image which shows a small representation of what the IR scanner and the AI does. So this data which you captured with this face is accessed again while attempting an authentication. A single point of precision, as said earlier, is enough to render the entire authentication invalid. And as mentioned, the depth factor involved here would be how deep your eyes are compared to your other facial features, how protruding your nose is, etc. In case of fingerprints, how is AI involved in that? So in order to understand, it should understand the machine learning part of fingerprint scanning, which is an optical scanner based work. So this is done by shining a bright light over your fingerprint and taking a digital photo of it. And this is a light sensitive microchip. So the digital image which you get is filled with ridges, a rise and a valley, a fall. And they turn these ridges and valleys to a binary code consisting of ones and zeros. And this creates a user's personal code. So let's say an example, which is, let's say Jonathan has 15 ridges and 12 valleys in his thumb, all in a unique order. Hence, the binary data can be, underline that word please, as follows. The role AI plays in here is the encryption of this binary code so as to devoid any option of data breaching. This is a digital image of a fingerprint with data points similar to the face, but this time instead of calculating your depth, it senses pressure and ridges and valleys. And as mentioned, the AI encrypts this unique binary code. So it's pretty obvious that the AI not only enhances the biometric technology, but also scrutinizes any possibility of a breach. Now let's get to the most interesting part of this, which is the biometric, the behavioral biometric, sorry. The behavioral biometric identifies and measures human activities, not the common measurements, although human activities such as keystroke dynamics, voice print, device usage, signature analysis, error patterns. From the words, keystroke dynamics include the speed with which you type, the number of emoticons or emojis that you use, the number of abbreviations, and how often you rely on autocorrect. Voice print, as the name suggests, it is something which is identified depending on how you sound. But to be honest, this could be recreated by a voice recorder. The next thing would be device usage. So device usage is something that comes along nowadays, along with your online transaction, something that deals with money. Let's take a normal month. Let's take a scenario, all right? Let's take a normal month wherein an individual has a set of common transactions such as his telecom service, his cable bills, his insurance, and let's say you make an unusual transaction. Let's say a fine, a speeding ticket, a fine to the road and safety department. Your bank would intimidate you of that behavior, saying you have made an unusual transaction to so and so for an amount. Is it you? And this is done in order to verify the authenticity of the transaction so as to prevent any fraud. That is where behavioral biometrics come in play. The next one is signature analysis, which clearly is other e-signature or the digital signatures that you use for your government purposes or any other thing which involves online sanctioning. And the other one are error patterns, which are common in our mobile devices, the security logs and stuff. So, however, even though this has been categorized as biometric security, this is not used as an authentication factor. It's more or less an additional layer of security along with the other basic biometric information like fingerprints. So one thing which is often questioned is the future of this field, and the reason why I brought up this topic would be the same. The future, as mentioned, is evidently bright. Day by day, if you think about this, we are trying to reduce the amount of passwords to remember while increasing the data to store. Let's take payment for example. What started with cash has slowly transitioned into credit cards, which gave the rise of online banking right now to mobile payment. Now, if you recall that entire path, the use of passwords has decreased drastically. What is once a combination of letters, numbers, pins, and passwords is now merely a fingerprint and face. Another fitting example is the lock screen of your phone. So today, if you go purchase any phone off a store or from the online market, the first thing that is done is adding a biometrics, a fingerprint or the face. Here's just similar to online payment, what started as passwords, pin, pattern unlocks has now become a face unlock or a fingerprint scanner. And now to think about it, even smartwatches right nowadays, As said earlier in the previous slide, even smartwatches today have used behavioral biometrics, keeping track of routine, calories intake, measuring heart rate, and even observing oxygen levels. Which today, considering the pandemic situation, I feel it's a great boon. And more recently, ironically, more recently, we were able to detect if a person fell to the ground, obviously, and if so, was it because of a silly mistake like slipping on a banana peel, as cartoons teaches us, or a medical condition such as low glucose level, etc. Just to show you all a context of this, the first picture you see is of an ECG machine, which is a hospital equipment to measure the heart rate of an individual. The second picture is a smartwatch, which is capable of the same thing and yet is more portable. So you see, this is how the evolution of biometrics have come into play today. So as I said earlier, this was nothing to do with coding per se. It was just an algorithm based session. And to conclude, today what I have given in this allotted time was just a very small walkthrough of a topic still under study. And as I said, this field is way more vast than one could imagine. New forms of biometrics are being discovered and implemented every day. And let's face the truth. It's very less people actually agree to testing something in its beta phase. And yet, even though this particular field is still under testing phases, it is one of the most used technologies today. So thank you so much for having me here. And if you feel like I have missed out on something or you want to connect with me, these are my contacts. Thank you, Global AI Student Conference, for giving me this opportunity. And while we are on that subject, it's a great initiative put forth by Global AI Student Conference. As you know, deforestation is something that we all learn in our geography classes, and yet today it's one of the most prominent issue. Hence, please, I implore you all to take part in this challenge, and let's hope for a better tomorrow. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sidharth. That was an insightful session, short but insightful.
Yes.
Yeah. So I have a question about your topic. So
Yes.
where do you think the future of biometrics in artificial intelligence is heading towards, and what are the things that you're most excited about?
Okay, let's. That's a nice question to answer to, because, as I said, the future is evidently bright. As one key example was earlier, uh, like your basic functions such as measuring one's heart rate is now available. It's portable. That's the most the key feature according to me. And the future of it would be, I think, tomorrow at this one point I saw a session today in which will happen in the future. I guess I saw a session wherein you read human emotions. So it's a very enlightening aspect of technology and biometrics as a combination. And I guess, yeah, that's where I feel biometrics will lead us to. So let's hope that's so.
And also, in which field do you think it is more prevalent these days, and in which field do you think it is going to be more prevalent in the future?
I would say the medical field, because I think security at the moment we have topped with facial recognition, but
Exactly.
yeah, and so the medical field would highly benefit this. I think that's the way this is heading towards. So tomorrow, more or less, going to the hospital, the first concern would be checking your smartwatch whether your heart rate is low. So that's the way I think things would go.
Exactly. I completely agree on that. Stephen, do you have any questions to share?
There's one question I think coming from the comments. There's the how train cat facial detection model. That's interesting one,
Sorry,
isn't it?
I didn't get you.
It says how train cat facial detection model. Someone has to train about cat, right? I don't know if it's about this session.
Okay.
But never mind. Never mind. Maybe something I missed up. So that was a great session, Sidharth. I would say very, very crisp and very, very niche. We have not had many sessions around it. I've been following up with this global AI community events, the other students from that feed too, but your one was very different and very niche. And I know you come from a very premium institute in India. That's absolutely great too. Any final thing you want to plug in, Sidharth, before we move to the next session?
Yeah, the one thing that I would like to plug in is, I guess, whenever I've talked about this particular topic was how do you learn, how do you become a biometric engineer? How do you learn this particular line? So the thing is, this particular as a profession, this is just growing. It's still very new to people. You can't go up to a person and say, "I want to become a biometric engineer today." They are clueless. So I think the first and foremost thing would be like making like you it's as I said, it's a vast field of study. So probably would be more educating yourself. And secondly, how do you train to be one is mainly I personally use Python, OpenCV, the Open Computer Vision. So that's one way. And as far as I've heard, you can do this in any programming language that has a base of data structures and object-oriented programming, along with a stint of machine learning and all. So that's just a basic thing. I'm still new to this, so.
Well, makes sense. That makes sense, right?
Yeah.
That definitely makes sense. So Siddharth, that was great. Thank you so much once again for accepting the
Thank you so
invitation.
much.
We'd love to have you back. And yeah, have a nice weekend ahead.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye. All right, Nigama. Now, before we move to the next section, I think we still have time. But before we do that, let's make a certain announcement. That is the first one is definitely about the challenge that we have. Definitely go ahead and participate in that challenge. Every module that you complete, we plant a tree, and I think they're going to plant up to around 1,500 trees. Having said that, there are also some of the Amazon vouchers that we're giving away to 5 lucky winners. So how to actually claim it, you have to take a screenshot, and how to take a screenshot, where to email, it's all